Live from Franklin, Tennessee, it's the Broncast, a podcast all about the Ford Bronco. I'm your host, John Melton.
I'm Donnie Whiteman.
We're a couple strange guys who love Broncos. What are we doing here? We love talking about Broncos. I'm totally off script here. Generation 1 through Generation 6. Our sponsor, though, is Tom's Off-Road. Because Tom's Off-Road believes in the Broncast, and they believe in the love of the Bronco.
That's right. Nothing but the Bronco.
Nothing but the Bronco.
In this episode today, I don't know what number it is.
We're going to get back on track.
Because we can't. Yeah. We don't even know what number it is. Do you?
It's 78.
Oh, okay. Wow,
this
I'm impressed.
Episode 78.
We usually don't know what episode we're doing. It's a episode.
This episode.
Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about things I wish I knew before I started a Bronco restoration. John and I have lots of them.
Yep.
And also, we're going to share what we spent on our builds, because mine's almost done and John's about to go to paint.
It's like the perfect timing. Like, I'm halfway-ish through my build, I would say, maybe halfway. And you're like wrapping yours up. And so I'm going to glean some knowledge from you. And I'm going to compare where I've saved money and where you've overspent on your budget.
Yeah, you know what we both have in common on our builds? We're broke.
Yeah, it's way over budget.
We're over budget.
Yeah. So before we do that, what have you been doing? What have you been working on?
Building exhaust this time.
Oh.
Yeah, so I really wanted a 2-in-1 exhaust, so I made my own downpipe that goes. It's a collector. It goes 2-into-1 and
you run manifolds,
stock
not headers.
Manifolds.
Yeah. Okay, so from the manifold down to that's cool.
And I like to run a single on the passenger side away from the fuel line or supply side.
Good.
Which is the driver's side. So it's just clean. There's no transfer case on that side.
Yeah.
All kinds of room. So yeah, I'll put a catalytic converter in there and a muffler.
Oh, so you ran it down
passenger side.
Yeah. That is a great idea. So, because I have the dual exhaust and it runs right next to my fuel lines. Like, I ended up pulling my fuel line out onto the other side of my frame because I was like, surely I was having some vapor lock issues. And I was like, I don't know if it's the exhaust running too close to the fuel line, but it felt like that was a safe bet. And actually, I haven't had any vapor lock issues since then.
Well, and when you're running EFI, your supply side can be 60 PSI.
Yeah.
That's a lot of PSI. So if it's going to, and when it springs a hole, it's going to spray like a cat.
On your exhaust.
All over the place. So yeah, it's just something. It's clean. There's tons of room on that side.
Yeah.
There's nothing over there. So, and if you want it to sound the same as duals, you can literally just run a larger diameter single pipe and get the same backflow or pressure.
But you have not stock, but a 302. Was that the original 302 or is it another one?
Not the original 302, but I did build a flat tappet 302. I mean, if that thing makes 215 horse, I'll be thrilled.
Right.
I just wanted to drive a Bronco with a little more than stock, but nothing crazy.
And having a 2-into-1 exhaust is perfect for the 302. Like, there's no reason I've realized it's silly to have dual exhaust. Like, there's no reason to have dual exhaust other than I like seeing both of the pipes coming out. But honestly, if I were to do it again, I would do a 2-into-1. I'll probably do a 2-into-1 on my build.
I'll show you how to build one.
Yeah, I'd love it. And it looks clean. I did look at it, but I didn't realize that it was on the it didn't click that it was on the passenger side. That's pretty cool. I have not worked on my Bronco. I've been working on providing for my family. But I've talked about this before, and it was the Onyx off-road project that I've been working on where I'm shooting these videos with Ian Johnson for this company, Onyx Off-Road, and it's a build challenge where 7 YouTubers are building these off-road vehicles, and then they're going to compete in this challenge. And so we're kind of documenting the whole thing. So we shot in Sand Hollow, Utah with all 7. They brought their stock vehicles out, and it was hilarious. Just people bringing cars, and someone brought a Mini Cooper. Someone brought...
so it doesn't have to be a truck.
No, Someone brought it was just silliness. And they're building them into these, not, what are we calling them? Rocklanders. So overlandy, rock crawlery kind of thing. But this last week I went to East Tennessee, and Bleepin' Jeep is one of the YouTubers, and he's building a Jaguar XJS, like old 80s Jaguar sedan.
Yeah.
And like he basically bought a Ram 2500, and he's dropping the Jaguar on the Ram 2500. Pretty crazy.
Classy.
Yeah. If it'll fit. Like while we were there, he lowered the body onto the frame, and it was like this much of a gap at some point, underneath, and it was like
1 foot.
Doesn't look
body lift.
Quite right. Yeah. It was about a 1 foot body lift. But it was really cool. So we filmed him working in his shop, and then Ian and I went out on the trail with him, and we just kind of went up this trail, and Matt took us up a trail called the Salt Mines in East Tennessee, and I'd never been up there. I've been to Windrock before, but this is kind of on the backside of Windrock, and man, it was such a cool trail. Like the first part of it was definitely like you needed 42s and a lot of horsepower.
Oh, wow.
Like it was tough to get up. But then the second part of the trail, it kind of, it became a little bit easier. And then we got to the top of this mountain, and it was all sand. Like it was beautiful. Like if you're in East Tennessee and you haven't, done the Salt Mine Trail, and you've got a capable vehicle, like I would definitely recommend checking it out. Like there's still like the mining carts and like steel cabling and like the brake, like this huge building with two of these wheels that are the brakes, and they're probably 30 feet high, these like steel, wheels. It was just
the cable
that pulled the cable. I mean, it was probably, so it was when the TVA started. So I think that was the 30s. So it's been, a while since it was built, and it's not been operational for a while. But just really cool. So at first they were taking the sand to build concrete to build the dams that dammed up most of East Tennessee. And then they started actually making glass with the sand, because it's like a really fine sand. So it was a cool trip. It was fun. It's fun that I love what I do. Like I love that I just get to go out and like ride in these trails and, film this stuff that's just beautiful and a lot of fun.
Could you get up on the first part of that trail with 35s?
Never.
Really?
No. With a winch, if someone was ahead of you and you could winch, because it was just East Tennessee and Wheeling in the Southeast is very wet. It's very muddy. And then you've got these big boulders. So it's not like out on the West Coast or the west side of the country, like when you're wheeling, it is crawling. Like that's why it's a rock crawl. Like you're going slow. In the Southeast, like you just have to push the skinny pedal, and like the vehicle's just going to find its way through the rocks, and you're just bouncing, it's like, and you're just kind of hopping and hoping you don't break anything, which we didn't. Yeah. I mean, it was wet. It was nasty. There's no way like my Bronco would make it. And yeah, so
42s and big brass ones.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you need.
That's what you need.
Let's talk about I guess we'll limit it to what, 5 things? 5 things that I wish I knew before I started my Bronco restoration.
We've got 7 on the list, so we'll go through the 7 things I wish I knew before I started my Bronco restoration. But here's the thing, like it's perfect timing, like we said. Like we're kind of in this process. I'm maybe halfway, and Donnie is 99% of the way.
So close.
Yeah. So I was like, oh man, this will be great. Like we can talk about what we've learned through the process of restoring a Bronco or any vehicle, but what we've learned. So number 1, I heard this and I didn't believe people, but now that I'm as far as I'm in, I believe people. And that is, you first build the Bronco, then you take the Bronco apart, then you paint it, and then you rebuild the Bronco.
Yeah.
Do you agree, disagree?
Well, I haven't done some that way. And once you know, some things like, about the door frames that, the first truck we did, we had painted and we had the doors painted and the door frames painted. Well, the door frames don't fit in the doors.
Oh,
So we had to grind a lot of paint off of the door frames, and then we're pounding and grinding on the little pockets that they go into in the doors. And anyone that's put a new door, had a door frame off, knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that was my probably worst lesson, because I was trying not to take any more paint off than I had to. But the whole truck's like that. If you have the luxury of building it before it's painted and put it back together, to save time, we just, we know there's a few things that we need to do, like the doors. While the truck's at paint, we will build the chassis.
yeah.
And then we'll just put it all together and figure it out. But we're not doing anything crazy. But if you're doing a Coyote, you have to. You can't build the body and then start cutting it apart to make room for the Coyote. That will be a huge mistake.
Yeah. Just as something as simple as adding AC. There's a lot of extra plumbing. There's a lot of extra wires. You got to drill stuff into the dash. Where do you put your, AC vents, stuff like that. So there's a lot of additional things that you do need to think through. And that's one that I'm really thankful. I'm like, yes, I'm glad I'm actually building it before I sent, I'm glad I'm not doing this after it's painted.
My first time trying to do the firewall insulation kit from Tom's, which I love.
Yeah.
It's got all that wool.
Yeah.
And then it's got this ABS plastic that covers it all up, and it really will insulate the firewall. But when you go to drill through that, because you realized you didn't put a hole where you needed it, and the drill bit catches the wool, it's just like, and then you can't get your drill bit out. It's just like, those are things you learn. So, we'll put that in there, got it all fit, looked great. Put the air box or the heater box in. It's like, oh, this is awesome, which was a chore because that thing's thicker and the bolts aren't almost long enough. And then we're like, dang it, we didn't do the pedals. We had to take it all back out and do. So these are things that you learn as you go. And so wait, the pedals go first, then the insulation.
Yeah. Well, number 2, what do you got?
It's going to be wiring harness. I think I told you I just did like 3 wiring harnesses. Well, this third one, instead of wiring it and pulling all the wires you don't need through the truck, through the firewall, and you're moving wires. And, on any of these wiring harnesses, there's not just one red wire with a green stripe. There might be 3, or 4. And so, there's only so many color combinations on these wiring harnesses. And, and if you can't read down the wiring harness where they printed it and you're trying to fish all this through. So I literally have a chassis behind you with blankets all over it and the harness laid out. And I'm pulling out the 11 wires I know I'm not going to use.
Yeah.
So that's going to save me a ton of time on the back end.
Yeah. That's good wisdom. Do the wiring harness outside of the truck. Well, I'd say number 3, before you do your restoration, get the mechanics done. So this is like if you were to be, if you had a Bronco and you're like, hey, I'm going to restore it. Don't strip it, just strip it down first. Focus on get the engine where you want it to be. If you have to take it to a mechanic, get them to seal it up so it's not leaking all over your new paint or leaking on your new axles or whatever it is. Get that stuff done first and then start worrying about the body. All that stuff is just a mess. Now, if you're like me, where you basically just bought a frame, well, then you're starting from the frame up. But if I were to take my green one and I'm going to do a restoration on it. Okay, first get the engine where you want it to be, transmission, then work on your axles. Would you agree?
I get one call a month where someone calls to buy a body and I'll ask them, oh, what's the status of your truck? Well, I just bought it, which means they don't know anything about it.
They've never touched a bolt on it.
Before they've even oh, it'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's but I want to buy a body now. And I tell them, I said, well, how does it steer? And usually they say, the steering's really bad. Well, how's it ride? Oh, it's terrible. It makes, how's it, how are the brakes? brakes are horrible. How's it run? Well, you should fix all that. And then usually it's like, oh, it doesn't run.
Yeah.
It's like, get all that fixed before you do a body. Because the last thing you want is taking your truck to like 20 different places to get fixed.
Yeah.
You're going to get scratches and dents, and it's, you're going to be real unhappy. So like literally painting the truck's the last thing.
Speaking of painting your truck, what's your number 4?
So we build paint carts, and we send the bodies on a paint cart, and then we work on the chassis while the bodies are paint. So you can be like double tasking, multitasking. So yeah, it's really great. Then you can take your time on the chassis, you get it all sorted out. So the first thing we do if someone brings us a truck is we take the body off. We either start building their body, but we'll be working on the frame. Restore the frame, restore the axles, pick your lift kit, get it on wheels. And, I have a favorite part here, and in their car dollies. Whether you buy the Go Jacks for $1,200 or you buy $100 set of carts, and the difference is those won't roll on carpet.
Right.
But we work on the frames, throw some old roller wheels on it, and we put the whole thing together. We do the brakes, we do everything, but while the body's in paint.
So my painter said, no, I want your Bronco running and driving so that you can drive it in and drive it out.
Yeah.
Because it's a buddy. I mean, Kevin Tates, he's going to be painting my truck. He needs to be able to access his paint booth. So he was like, I can't just have it sitting in here. And there's not really a great way to load it in and load it out unless, it's on a lift or on a, winch or something like that. And so he was like, it would be a lot better for him if it's running and driving.
If you take the body off and you take the interior and you take the cage out and you put it on a paint cart, it's pretty light. You can push it around.
Yeah.
And I would share my paint cart measurements with anybody because all the painters love them because they can paint underneath, they can paint on top, they can do all sorts of things.
You send your feet pics to Donnie.
Hairy feet pics.
Yeah, he's going to send you his paint cart dimensions. Questions at the Broncast.
Fair trade? I don't know.
Shoot an email if you need some paint cart schematics.
But yeah, if you've got the body on your chassis with an engine, you can't push that around.
No.
Yeah, I agree. There's 2 ways to do it then.
Yeah. So you had mentioned the wheel carts. My next one is actually wheels and tires. One of the things that I think people should know if they're doing a restoration is buy your wheels and tires last. Like that's one of those things that in your mind, you're like, no, like I want to see how it looks and, like see it under the frame and the chassis and all that. Like, no, if I had done that, my wheels and tires right now would be 4 years old and rotting away, flat spotted. Yeah. So it's like, let that be the last thing. I've got, my Bronco right now is on these like old, I think I bought them from you actually.
You did.
So these old wheels and tires, but it's like, lets me roll it around, lets me, because I've got them on little dollies as well, but I can work on it and I can see like how it looks, but I know that my tires aren't rotting.
They're so old. They're like 40 years old.
Yeah, they really are.
I go in there and pump the one up every once in a while because I told you they held air.
I appreciate it. Yeah. That's why I bought them.
Oh, look, John, they're holding air.
They're holding air. See, John? Last, but certainly not least, everything takes a really long time.
Yeah.
I'll always be like, I'm going to go spend the whole day working on my restoration. And I have these grandiose ideas and I get into the shop and I get all my tools out and I start working away. And then it's like an hour into it. I'm like, okay, before I move on, I need 4 bolts, this, I need to buy this part. I need to order this. I need to I've got more of a to-do list of things that I need to do just to move on. I'll go buy the parts and then wait 3 days for them to get shipped to me. And then again, I go into the shop, I'm going to spend all day on the restoration. I work an hour and it's like, come on.
I would say we spent a year on this first truck and it's 100% every nut and bolt's new and everything's been rebuilt. And we probably spent 3 months in shipping on stuff. You
Yeah.
know, just so luckily, you know, we've got the frame we could be working on another truck or this or that. But if you're just building one truck, you will spend an eternity ordering parts and waiting for them to come to you.
How many times do you get a part in and you go, what is this for? Like, why did I buy this? Do you ever do that?
No, it's normally like, why did I buy 3?
Yeah.
So I'll buy like all 3 options of like a kick down cable or, you know, a catalytic converter that I want to stick in there. And I was just like, why?
Well, I only have 2 Broncos, one restoration, one I drive, but I'll literally like get a part and I'll be like, what truck is this for? Like,
yeah.
why was I buying this? You know, like which one, you know, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is going to this. And
well, I think what I end up doing is the part's supposed to be for our white truck and it'll go on a customer's truck. And then Tim goes to like, where's that part that I checked in? It's like, I sold it.
Well, and then I'll come over and I'll be like, hey, Donnie, do you have, I need this part. And you're like, yep, here you go. And then it's like gone. I'm like,
yeah, the banjo bolts.
Yes, banjo bolts.
And I went to put the brakes on. I'm like, I didn't get any banjo bolts with this. And I went, wait a minute.
John has them.
John used them.
John took them and never returned them.
We do that equally though.
Right. Yeah.
You get me parts.
I need your help here because I'm, you know, halfway into my build. We'll say, just to make me feel better. We'll say I'm halfway into my build.
2 months later.
Yeah, and I've kind of stalled out a little bit. Because if I'm being honest, the Melton family budget is a little bit tighter than the Bronco Restoration has fallen from its good graces. And my wife's like, one, you're never going to get it done. So why are we spending money on this? So it's not as high in the priority list. I also started remodeling my bathroom during COVID in 2020.
Wait, that was
still doing that. Still not done. So yeah. So I wanted to talk through budget, and I wanted to compare notes and see what you've spent and how it differs from what I spent. But then also see what else is left and what you spent, what you're happy with, what would you do different. But just I want to walk through the budget. Can we just like? You walk through your budget, I'll walk through my budget.
I'm a spreadsheet nerd.
Yeah.
Like I love spreadsheets. So I had a spreadsheet on, you know, how to build a steel body. And then it turned into like 12 spreadsheets later. Like I know how long everybody took for us to build. And I'm over there. It's not like I'm holding a stopwatch while Tim's doing some things.
Yeah.
But we do know that we can build a body now in about 82 hours.
Wow.
You know, that's our collective time. But we're that might be slow by some standards because I'm so picky. You know, we've learned to do things once.
82 hours to put a body together.
Yeah.
And is that how long, like time-wise, how long? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
It depends on what all we're working on.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the dream would be to sit here and each put in 41 hours and build one in a week. But, you know, that's TV show stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work.
Right.
So, but we have built the last 2 in a month.
Wow.
Like, you know, from the time we said we were going to start it till we finished it and got it into paint. And all the blue parts that are behind you right now are Teddy Steger's truck. It left here 4 weeks ago and came back 3 weeks later from paint. We're like, we're not ready. You know, it's just like he painted it. He like literally knocked it out. The painter did.
Wow.
And so the parts are everywhere.
Yeah, they literally
around the
are.
shop. There's light green. There's a boxwood door. There's a blue door. Yeah. So we've got 3 trucks going right now. So I kept a spreadsheet, and I think it's funny. This is interesting. There's 150 panels that go on to make a full steel body. Huh. So that's how many panels we weld together. But we use a machine that actually, we're not MIG welding.
Sure.
If you had to MIG weld a truck, it'd take an eternity.
Yeah.
Then you have to grind all the MIG welds. But the spreadsheet I put together to build a truck has over 850 parts on it now, not counting the body. The body is 1 part. So yeah, just nuts, bolts. I keep track of everything. Every bag that's on the floor, I pick it up and look at the part number and go, this is not on the spreadsheet. my spreadsheet has 3 different trucks on it.
Okay.
And I know exactly what I've spent so far on these trucks. And one's the Panama build,
Yep.
Which will be up for sale here soon, maybe 3 weeks. And then the other one is a customer truck, a boxwood green truck. So
Okay.
I've got about 17 categories.
Yes.
So, brakes, wheels, and tires are a category. So
yeah.
I could tell you what I spent on each category if you want to
Yeah.
compare.
Let's go through it. Yeah.
All right. So
Category number 1.
Body.
Well, yeah. So this will be way different because you can build your own body.
Yeah.
I had to purchase a body through Dennis Carpenter. So my total was $18,320.
Yeah. That's actually what we would charge
Oh yeah.
to
Nice.
build a body for someone. And, it's about $10,000 in parts and shipping
Yeah.
ballpark. So that's how much you have in just materials if you wanted to tackle it yourself.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
And we're just going to pause here and acknowledge if you're not a nerd and don't care about the budget on a restoration, we get it. But like when you've done a restoration or when you're working on one, this is probably fascinating to you. So I apologize if you're like, oh God, this episode's done,
But I bet we spent very different money on each one of
Yeah.
these. We don't have to hit all 17.
Right.
Let's hit the highlights. All right. So that
I
was
have
body.
I have a fly on my mic right here.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can.
Oh, yes. Send them this way.
It. That was,
Good thing my mouth was closed.
if you're if you're just listening to this, you just missed me flick a fly off my mic. All right, carry on.
All right. Chassis. So you can do chassis a bunch of different ways. I spent $5,846.
Okay, what is all that? What all does that include?
Believe it or not, those are just all the parts. I actually bought my chassis for about $3,500.
Is that included in the price?
So yes. So
Okay.
I spent whatever 35 is from 58. So I spent $2,300. In almost 1,000 of it was paint and powder coat.
Yeah.
The powder coating was probably 700 plus.
Oh, got to go to my guy.
Oh.
Mine was 450. So yeah. So
And your chassis? Where'd you get your chassis?
Georgia. So the guy who found my Bronco, his name's Christian. He's in Georgia, and he was like, "Hey, found a Bronco." So we went and picked it up, and then he was like, "Hey, I've got a really good powder coat guy. It's $450 to powder coat the chassis."
Wow.
And so
it looks great too.
Yeah, and he came, picked it up. And he took it down there, got it powder coated, and brought it back.
That was a deal.
Yeah.
Well, I went fancy.
You did. You got the hammer.
I got the hammer tone.
Yeah, it looks really good.
And I took him some other parts. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I went for the bling.
Yeah, you did. Nice.
So chassis. That's another one. And then of course we used cat lever for all our parts that we needed.
Oh yeah, because you had to like straighten the frame horns.
We cut them off.
Yeah.
And welded new ones on.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a lot of work. So that's not labor. That's just $2,300 in all kinds of parts.
Yeah.
Which does include like body bushings, hangers. We did new shock mounts, cut those off and welded new ones on. And then, So next one is axles. So,
axles.
Yeah. What'd you do for axles?
So far, I've spent $2,365. And I think that was, I'm trying to think if I included because I paid Carl Strum to build them. And I think that's just the
video.
parts.
Yeah. You said the axles were a lot more. Didn't you do like on your YouTube video, you said this is what it cost and you had like a little tally.
I did. I'm literally pulling up the video.
Well, on mine, just to compare, I spent $5,088 and I rebuilt both front and rears, new ring and pinions. I had all new parts.
Yeah.
I did use the axle shafts. I didn't buy new axle shafts, but they're brand new axles inside now otherwise. And that included powder coating them. So I was at $5,000.
Yeah. I take mine back. It was $2,365 just in parts and then $2,000 for Carl to build them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and that does not include powder coating, because I had to get those powder coated, and that was $500.
Oh, so you're at like 4,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty close there.
Yeah.
The next one, number 4, is suspension. So I think we did the same thing. I did a Tom's 2.5-inch kit.
Yep. Mine was 1,078.
Mine was 1158, and so you must be including Bill Stein's also.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did about the same there.
Yep.
So that's pretty good. New shocks, new suspension. Even if you're doing your old truck, $1,100. That's money well spent. I feel like.
Yeah.
New springs. You got all kinds of stuff with that.
Yeah. Suspension is not expensive.
Roll cage, which is, you know, I had $1,000. I bought a builder kit, welded it myself.
Oh, okay.
And that didn't include painting. I think if you were to do everything in a roll cage, buy it, have it welded, have it painted, you'd be at $3,000.
$3,000.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down, so because I haven't bought anything for the roll cage, so that's something I need to budget for.
So these are like two prices. DIY guy, $1,000.
Yeah. So how much would you charge me to build a cage for my truck, weld it, and then I'll paint it somewhere?
I probably owe you some money for some parts. So
we'll call it even.
I'll show you how to weld it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea. All right. So 3,000 for cage. And then what's next? You have engine?
Yeah. Cage material. That's a couple 6-packs.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the materials are.
Right.
After that, I have engine. So my number 6 is the engine category. And I have on my spreadsheet, I have it 2 different ways. I have a V-belt drive 302, just a restoration on an engine.
Yeah.
And then I have an upgraded engine, which would have a serpentine belt set up and all kinds of fancy stuff like a roller cam. And
nice.
So they're 2 different prices, but they're both still expensive.
What are the 2 prices?
The V-belt is almost $7,000, even just rebuilding everything. But you saw it.
Is that new heads?
No, rebuilt the cast iron heads. I use the cast iron 2-barrel intake, and you know, so and that's a carburetor. That's if you had a carburetor on it. It's a good engine build's about $6,500.
Jeez,
that's everything. That's the crank balance, the block machined and magnafluxed, and
wow.
But then if you go with a V-belt setup, a serpentine belt setup, and you do a roller cam and you do what I call a modified 302 or a modernized 302, so it's like a new truck engine. Yeah, you're about $8,000 to $9,000.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the engine's about the same. Let's just call the engine $7,000.
Okay.
But then you're throwing EFI on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, with EFI, you're like $9,000-10,000. But the engine build to do a modernized roller cam with new aluminum heads is about $7,000. It's about the same as restoring an engine. So which way are you going to go?
Well, after hearing that, I don't know.
But see, you can buy. So I'm going to give Blueprint Engines a plug here.
Right. I know.
You can buy a Bronco built engine for your early Bronco, specifically built for that. It's ready to bolt up a C4. It comes with a 3-year warranty, 30,000 miles, something like that. And it's like $79.95.
Yeah. Like I'm pulling it up.
And they're in stock. They'll ship it to you.
I know.
Have it in if it's in stock, you'll have it in a week.
Why am I not doing that?
It's free freight too. It's $79.95.
That is crazy. Yeah.
I don't know why it
Bronco edition for $6,649.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, but with EFI, it's like $79.95.
Sure. Yeah, this is just the long block, basically. Like no intake manifold.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is what I want because I'll be going with the Edelbrock ProFlow.
Yep. But I mean, it could take your engine builder 6 months to a year, or you could have this shipped to your door in a couple of weeks.
I'm going to check out. Let's see. It's in my cart.
That's in your cart.
Yep, literally.
You know what? The family's going to have to go on a budget.
There it is.
So you can afford
Blueprint, $6,649.
Kids,
yeah,
you're going on a budget.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Because I need the money for my Bronco.
Man, I didn't realize. Seriously, I didn't realize that it was that much. If you're going to do it right.
If you're going to rebuild it
if you're going to do it right.
Now, you can freshen up an engine.
Yeah.
You can paint an engine
right.
and make it look good.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be wore out.
Yeah.
So,
man, that's crazy. Okay.
I mean, when I get in something that I built, I want to know that I could drive it to Florida and I want to beat on it. I literally love to beat on stuff. So,
and I will pause here to say, I know a lot of you out there are going to be like, oh my God, you guys spending too much money on this. I could do that for way cheaper. I know there's people out there who think that, or that they can, they take something that isn't like this isn't a low budget build, like we're not trying to see how cheap we can get this stuff done. Like, so I get it. You can do it for cheaper. Have fun. But what we're talking about is doing it nice, doing it to sell it. Like, and, I just know that the comments are going to come like, oh, you guys are spending way too much money on it. And it's like, well, no, like we're putting the right parts in there and we're like trying to put new stuff in where we can.
I mean, if it's knocking and smoking, you're still going to spend a couple $1,000. You can replace one crankshaft bearing to get rid of the knock, but it's just going to knock later.
Yeah.
You didn't actually fix it. You just stopped it from knocking temporarily.
Yeah.
But so we're talking about, what it costs to build one.
Right. Right. It would be interesting though, to hear Rob Matthews' budget.
For an engine build?
No, for the whole thing. Build. Like I would have, that would have been fun to get his budget and compare all three of ours.
Because what a perfect luber costs.
Yeah. Well, but I would say, I know I was giving some hate to the people who are going to be like, oh, I could do it for cheaper. He did a great job with his build and he hand fabricated a lot of his stuff or reused a lot of stuff where we aren't. And so it'd be interesting to see that difference. Maybe we'll call him one day and just get his, if he kept his budget. But.
Well, and it's hard to be everything. It's hard to be
a
builder, that does body fab, and then to be the guy that builds the engine, and then to be the electrician, and then of course the painter, which I would never attempt.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be all those people. So,
Yeah, it is. It's very true. And in me, I'm trying to represent more of the weekend mechanic kind of, I don't call myself a mechanic by any means. It's more, I'm learning as I go.
People don't call me a mechanic.
They call you a builder.
Yeah.
EFI. So you have EFI on there. How much you did the
EFI,
sniper?
The thing with EFI is you end up having to replace all your fuel lines so that they'll take 60 PSI.
Yeah.
You have to buy a 60 PSI fuel pump. You have to buy a different sending unit. You have to buy a different tank. You have to buy, you have to buy a different distributor. It's like you don't just get to buy the thing and throw it on top of the engine. No. So you're at $2,000 in parts.
Yeah.
Just ballpark,
right.
And
maybe $2,000 for the unit, the throttle body unit.
Well, that's what I meant. $2,000 with, so you can get some of the throttle bodies in the EFI units are $1,100, $1,200.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Depending on how fancy you want to get.
Right.
But you're going to spend another $800, $900 in stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's you doing it yourself. But I like EFI. I think it's fun. You don't lose any horsepower. You just have more control.
Yeah.
And I like to start the truck up when I turn the key and just start driving, throw it in gear and go.
Right. All right. What's number 8 on the list?
Number 8 is cooling. I have, again, you can, if your radiator's good, you can use it. But I spent $615 in this category. That was a $350 radiator, which you don't have to spend that much. But Broncos 302s tend to run hot in Broncos, so I bought a 4-core.
Yep.
So just
really
more
nice.
coolant. Yeah.
Which means that you need the bigger brackets for the 4-core. You need, which I would upgrade anyway if I was restoring a truck. I
bought the chrome ones.
That's the first thing you see when you open the hood is that radiator right there. So
the next one's transmission, and you can go a bunch of different routes here. If you just rebuild a C4, now I wouldn't rebuild a C4. I don't know how to, but like $3,400. A lot of transmission shops will rebuild it and give you like a 3-year warranty on it. So
what about 4R70W? Didn't you do a 4R70 in 1 year?
I'm just starting one.
Okay.
Yeah. It just goes up from there. You know, they want $4,400 to rebuild one of those. And then you got to buy adapters and all sorts of things to make it work. So on this build, it was $3,500.
Nice.
So it was what we spent on the transmission.
And was that a C4 or was that
C4?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I've only spent $250 on a 4R70W, which that's not true. I've already bought the cross member and some other parts for it. So I've probably spent closer to $2,000 already on it because I got like the US shift controller. I've got a couple other like the parts that I knew I needed to upgrade. I already have that. But I haven't yet added it to my budget because I haven't done a video on it. So that's why I'm like, oh, wait, no, I've actually already bought that stuff.
Well, after transmission, I have brakes, wheels, and tires. And again, I've got a set of rollers behind you on that frame that I've got like $300 in.
Yeah.
So that's all I did there. And then we'll buy the new wheels and tires when it's done.
How much did you spend, though?
So on brakes, I actually did the Tom's 4-wheel disc brake kit. Again, you know, we went all out on this truck. This was not a budget build. You know, a budget build would be you rebuild
the drum
brakes. Yeah. And you leave it that way.
Right.
Which work fine on a Bronco.
Mm-hmm.
You can add a booster and they're great. But yeah, so I'm at $2,100, but that included the wheels and the tires.
Whoa. I'm at $2,100 without wheels and tires.
Oh, hang on. Am I missing something?
$2,100 would have just been the...
No, so the brake kit was $749, and then I had to buy some parking brakes and cables and things like that.
Did you use my booster? How did you do that with... Man, that's crazy.
No, so this brake kit, my axles came with disc brakes. So the disc brake like rebuild kit and the booster was like $749.
Okay.
So I had already paid for the disc brakes up in my axles.
Okay.
So, but still I was at, I don't know, disc brakes, I would have been at probably $3,000.
Yeah. Because the 4-wheel disc brake kit's $1,800 from Tom's. Mm-hmm. And then I also got a new brake line kit for $280.
So what'd you spend on brakes?
So mine's right at $2,100.
Yeah. And I've got $1,000 in wheels and tires, so I would have been at $3,000.
But I also need to add in, I'm doing Hydro Boost on mine.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to add that in as well. I haven't mocked that up or done a video on that.
I do want to, after driving Teddy's Roadster, I really want to build a 66, and I want to do a budget build.
Yes.
Steelies, small radial tires, no doors. That'll save a ton of money.
Yeah.
Maybe a single hoop roll cage. So instead of, a couple $1,000, it could be $300.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be fun to do, is to compare this white one to another white one that's just bare bones bench seat.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be really cool.
All right. So after that, I have exhaust. We're on number 11. In that category, I built my own exhaust. It's all stainless steel.
Oh, nice.
I'm at like $1,165.
Okay. For exhaust, $1,100.
Yeah. And I built an all stainless end to end.
And when you build them for friends, how much is it?
I'll teach you to weld.
All right. I'm just putting it in my budget. I just need to.
Yeah. So you can do. So here's the reason I did that is you can get an all steel exhaust, whether it's dual or 2-into-1, and spend $750.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'd rather build my own, throw a cat on it, buy a stainless muffler or a stainless cat and make it look really cool.
Yeah.
I am going to, on the end, the last 18, 20 inches, we're going to do polished stainless.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a Mustang 5-liter. That's cool. All they had for the tip.
That'd be cool. All right, next, fuel and fuel tank.
Yeah. Again, mine was EFI, so the stuff was more money, but I had like $1,421.
Yeah. I'm only at $896 so far. But I haven't gotten it all working, but that's new tank, fuel lines. But again, I think once I build it all, it'll probably be more.
Did you go with the 23-gallon tank?
Yeah.
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 So that tank right there, so I bought the Tom's 23-gallon tank kit, which came with a high pressure fuel pump and a sending unit, and that was I think those are like $699.
Mine was $799. So I think it was probably the same thing.
You maybe got the fuel line and everything with it, and return lines and all that.
Maybe.
Yeah, you can order the kit a couple different ways.
Steering.
Again, you can make all kinds of decisions on steering. So I went all out. I did the polished stainless steering tilt wheel, the whole deal. And in steering, I included steering wheel. So people are going to think this is ridiculous, but it's the thing you touch most when you're driving.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
for me, it's the accelerator and the brakes.
Yeah, right.
I spent $2,400, $2,434.
I think I've spent $400 so far, but I haven't. That doesn't include everything that I have, because I have the tilt steering as well.
Yep.
But I got mine raw, so I'm going to paint it to match the dash.
Well, this does include a steering box for $372, a $200 steering wheel. It does include a $500 Heim joint steering kit in the front too. So my steering was everything.
Yep.
It wasn't just the column.
Yeah.
It was from the steering wheel to the end of the tie rods.
Yeah.
So I felt like $2,400 was worth it.
Right.
I did notice something though. The steering column is polished everywhere and it reflects on the glass.
Oh.
Like there's the sun will reflect in a vertical line like the telephone pole.
That
it's
is
like
terrible.
So I'm gonna put some matte clear over just the top of it. But
that's a good idea.
Just note to everyone that wants to buy that fancy column is.
Yeah, I'm gonna paint mine Wimbledon white, so that'll be a nice.
Oh yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's true. I have actually bought more steering stuff, and I don't have it on my list. So I need to update that.
But if I had rebuilt the column, I could have saved $1,000.
Yeah.
If I had just used an old column and restored it.
Is yours tilt column? Yeah. I like that. And I think that's a really nice feature upgrade to do if you're spending the money to do something nice. That's a nice upgrade.
Okay, so after steering, that was number 13. Number 14 is electrical. Of course, we both did new wiring harnesses, and of course, none of this is labor again. This is just all
material.
Parts.
Yeah.
This is why we don't have any money.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did the painless harness. I mean, I did all kinds of stuff. So when I say electrical, I'm talking starter, alternator, voltage regulator, which was in the alternator. I did a GM1 wire, which has the voltage regulator into the back of the unit.
Yep.
Which really cleans up a lot of wiring.
Yeah.
Gets rid of like 4 wires at least. Spark plugs, battery, this is everything. Battery terminal, cables. How about you? What do you know what you spent?
I just did I only have the wire harness on my budget right now. And wire harness and the loom is $1,000.
So this is all my wiring, not lights, but all the wiring. And it did include a wiper motor and blade.
Yeah.
No, just the wiper motor. I did the electric kit, which
Yep.
is why it's under electric. That was like $245. Yeah, for electrical, I was at $1,989.
Oh, that's not too much. Yeah. So about $1,000 more than what that's not bad. Okay. This I feel like is going to be the big one. Interior next.
Yeah. It's a huge category.
So much goes dash seats. I mean, there's so much that can go in that.
The wooden balls that are on your back. Do you remember those? A whole seat cover that was made of little half-inch wooden balls. No? It's called a massager. It's a back massager.
The wooden balls that are on your back.
Yeah.
Everyone has those.
Anthony knows what I'm talking about. I guarantee it. Rob knows what I'm talking about.
That's right. Spencer? He doesn't
Spencer
know.
may not know. He's a young guy.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah. The little,
okay. You're just messing with me.
Yeah. The wooden balls that go on your back. Yes.
You don't like those?
No. The massage.
Interior. I did the Tom's interior kit, which is around $1,600 and some dollars.
Yeah.
2 new seats in the front, new seat, roll and tumble in the back.
Yep.
And this is like interior. I have in my interior category, I have dash parts, which can be a lot of money.
Yeah.
I have some expensive stuff. Seat belts. I have all the pedals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, everything inside the truck.
Yeah, things you don't think about.
Yeah. So I have door parts. So everything, most of the door parts are on the inside except for the mirror and the outer door handles. So I just put them here. And then, the heater's on the inside. So I didn't separate it. So, I mean, with a new heater, basically was everything inside the truck's new. Everything you look at and touch.
Yeah.
Every knob, every gauge.
Yep.
Everything on the doors. I spent $5,372.
Yeah. I think that's very reasonable. You're doing the Tom's seats, right? Yeah, you said that, the Tom's interior kit. Yeah.
I mean, shoot, the door parts were easily, I don't even know.
That is expensive.
$800 when you're buying regulators and
to rebuild a door is expensive.
The anti-rattle kits are like $150.
There's so many stupid parts. Like, it's crazy. No, I get it. All right, and then you got heat on your list.
Well, that heat was actually part of
interior. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Which is the heater box, the heater exchanger that comes in there.
Yeah.
I went with the upgraded blower fan.
Yep.
The big fan, because I have no roof. So you got to blow that hard on.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and then the last one, number 17, I think that's last, right?
Yeah.
Yep, is exterior, which is headlights, taillights, trim.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the sport trim, but I did the chrome around the windshield.
Oh, yeah.
And I did, of course, new chrome mirrors, new chrome door handles. Everything else on the outside was new. And I must have spent more than that. I bet you I spent $1,000 then.
Oh, yeah.
2 new chrome bumpers, and
so
it adds up.
It adds up quick. So I still have $23,000. I'm $23,000 behind you.
Oh, you were writing all this down?
I like anything that we were off on, like there was a difference and you had more. I was just writing it out there to the side just to kind of keep track of it. And I was like, okay.
Well, it's a white truck, so I feel like it needed the bling. It needed chrome.
Totally.
I wouldn't do this on another truck that was gray or something else. I would dial back all the polished stainless. But for me, it's like white is like white. You got to put something on it.
Yeah.
You want to know what my grand total was?
Yeah. What's the grand total?
I think this counts the $3,500 frame, but I think I'm at, and this includes a paint job in the $10,000 range.
Okay.
I'm at $65,000, no labor. That's straight up parts and paint.
Yeah. That is amazing.
So
65.
Well, luckily the trucks are worth, you'd spend, this funny thing is if it had been a Jeep, it would have been the same amount of money.
Right.
And it'd be worth 30.
Yeah.
So that's how much it costs to restore a vehicle if you're going to go and do everything.
That's crazy. Well, there you go. Some helpful knowledge, potentially, if you're doing a restoration or if you're thinking about doing a restoration. $65,000. That's a lot.
And you would probably pay 50% more to have someone do it all.
Oh, easily.
So you'd be at $100,000.
Yeah, easily.
And
if you gave it to a shop and let someone do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. I mean, that's like, I feel like that's huge. That's amazing knowledge for someone to have. So, yeah.
Hopefully we didn't put a bunch of people to sleep.
I know. It was a lot. It was a lot of numbers. Or towards the end there, I'm sure people were like, and fast forward. Times 2.
I want to hear some music.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time.